Hello, I'm Beth Kempton, founder of Do What You Love and author of Freedom Seeker. In writing this book, I got to talk to some fascinating people who shared stories that I'll never forget. And in nearly every single case, I went to talk to them with one particular idea in mind, but the story I ended up hearing was something else. It was even braver, deeper, more thought-provoking, and showed a level of vulnerability and strength that I had not expected. And it made me realise how so many of us really don't see the gold in our own experiences. We don't realise that vulnerability is key to connecting with others. And we don't acknowledge that our failures are actually hugely valuable lessons. This has never been so clearly demonstrated to me as when I met a real-life clown, which was definitely an unexpected highlight of my book research process. His name was Alan. We'd arranged to meet at the Tea House Theatre Cafe in London, and I want to tell you a bit about him because he was fascinating. I knew it was him as soon as he walked in, bending his 7-foot frame to get in the doorway. And his story tumbled out over a peppermint tea and date cake, this real-life clown weaving an enchanting tale of his world. Alan was working as a history teacher in a small town in Western Australia when he was dragged into the local amateur dramatics society. Now, Alan is a self-confessed super introvert, so he was terrified, but the moment that he stepped onto the stage, he came alive. Performing allowed him to pretend that he wasn't shy anymore and that he didn't care what other people thought of him. In character, he was larger than life, which was pretty large already, the tallest guy that I've ever met, and he loved it. After a particularly challenging year of teaching, Alan decided to quit and try acting full-time. Despite having no formal training, he went straight into a job in the production of a show called Road Train, which got rave reviews and gave him a real taste of acting. But after a while, he lost confidence in himself and he quit to work as a tour guide. He began his new job with basic tours, but as his experience and reputation grew, he found himself leading adventures into the Australian outback. And one day a traveller fell ill, and although he coped fine, he realised that he felt wholly unqualified for what he was doing. This is a recurring theme for Alan. He dives in without thinking too much, which allows him to be bold and brave. But after a while, his rational mind catches up and the inner voice just gets louder and louder, telling him he's a faker and he's not good enough. Along the way, he's racked up some incredible experiences, but his inner voice is getting so loud that it knocks the wind out of his sails and he retreats into himself. And he does this over and over again. After a while, he decided to give acting another go, and in another astonishing demonstration of courage, he created a show in which he was all on his own on the stage and did the thing he finds most terrifying, which was audience interaction. And to make sure he didn't back out, he booked a tour of Canada. His performance attracted critical acclaim and he loved the energy of being on stage. And it was all good for a while. And then one night on tour after the show, he was checking his email and he found a note from the casting director at Cirque du Soleil inviting him to audition for a clown position. His first initial reaction was one of sheer excitement, but it was rapidly followed by abject terror. The audition would require him to do a 2-minute clown piece, and he didn't have any 2-minute clown pieces. So he spent several hours constructing a detailed email listing all the reasons why he'd regretfully have to decline the best job invitation of his life. And he hit send. But Cirque du Soleil wasn't taking no for an answer. The casting director turned up at Alan's show the next night and told him, "You're exactly what we're looking for, just do your thing." The audition paid off and he was offered the role of the giant clown in Corteo, Cirque du Soleil's big show all about clowns. It was a massive career break. From the outside, Alan's story is a tale of one bold move after another. He dives in with great courage, he's prepared to be a beginner and he learns on the job. He's dedicated to his craft and he's talented at what he does. He's had many opportunities, but not just by luck, but because he puts himself out there. This is the story that I see. He's friendly and open, big-hearted and humble. But that isn't the story that Alan sees. He talks of insecurity, fear and depression, even after playing one of the greatest clown roles for the world's most famous circus. He's very conscious that he's sabotaging his own success, and he shares with me how he finds it hard to talk about his feelings and connect with other people. He says he struggles to trust, And yet here he is pouring out his story to me, a stranger introduced through a mutual friend. So where he talks about finding it hard to trust, I'm moved by his openness. Where he sees failure, I'm inspired by the foundations of a brilliant career. Where he calls himself an introvert who struggles to talk to people, I'm wholly engaged, laughing out loud many times during our 2-hour conversation. The picture that he paints of himself is not a portrait of the person that I see before me. The story he tells is not the story that I hear humming beneath the surface. And so it is for so many of us who don't see the value in our own experiences or recognise the potency of our vulnerability. Alan's example is a classic picture of someone trapped in a cage. From his position inside it, he's trapping himself with a crushing lack of self-belief, seeing his growth as a series of failures. But from my position, outside the cage looking in, I see the reverse. I see a man with unique experience and a beautiful humanity so deep and wide that it captured the attention of the world's greatest circus. I see a man with a wealth of experience, a huge amount to be proud of, even more to give, and a very bright future. How about you? Do you see your friends acting in this way? Do you know anyone who always puts themselves down? Do you see how what you see is often the exact opposite of what they see? Well, now hold that mirror up to yourself in the same way and look at yourself in reverse. What do others see in you that you can't see in yourself? Where do you put yourself down when others try to lift you up? We would never judge a friend in the harsh way that we often judge ourselves. We would never counsel them with the sharp words that we reserve for self-coaching. And yet we all do it. We feed our fears and insecurities and crush our own confidence. Sometimes we manage to flee the cage, but then we allow our old stories to catch up with us and weigh us down once again. Don't confuse your stories with your one beautiful story, the true story of your real life. Write that story yourself, rewrite it, change the ending. Know that in any moment you have the power to do that. And in doing so, you will build your own flight momentum. Alan's is just one of the many stories that I share in Freedom Seeker to show how real people just like you are grappling with real life challenges, just like you, and somehow, in amongst it, finding a way to feel free. I hope you will allow these stories to soak into your soul, inspire your own flight, and then slowly get moved aside to be replaced by your own story, the one that you're still writing.